English Politics Podcast.
English Politics Podcast.
English Politics Podcast. Good day, everyone, and welcome to the English Politics Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Daniels, here to bring you insightful discussions, exclusive interviews, and the untold stories behind the headlines. Today, we delve into a topic that has sparked endless debates and speculation: the hidden decisions and quiet strategies during Donald Trump's presidency that rarely made it into the public eye. In politics, the loudest voices often dominate, but what about the actions that happen behind the scenes? The moments that aren't broadcast, tweeted, or debated in the press. Joining us today is someone who knows this topic better than anyone else, the man himself, former President Donald J. Trump. With a legacy as unique as his presidency, he's here to share his perspective on leadership, strategy, and the decisions that shaped his administration but were never fully revealed. Welcome to the show, President Trump.
Thank you, Sarah. It's a pleasure to be here, and I have to say, it's always great to set the record straight. So many people talk about me, but very few talk to me. That's why I'm glad we're having this discussion.
Absolutely, Mr. President. It's not every day we get the chance to hear directly from a leader with such a transformative and, at times, controversial legacy. Many people have strong opinions about your presidency, but today we're focusing on the unspoken moments, the decisions and strategies that didn't dominate the headlines. What would you say is the most misunderstood aspect of your time in office?
Well, Sarah, there's a lot. People focused on the tweets, the rallies, and the noise, but they missed the work, the incredible, groundbreaking work we were doing for the American people. I've always believed in getting things done, and sometimes that means working quietly. Some of our biggest achievements didn't need the spotlight. They just needed to happen.
That's a fascinating perspective, Mr. President. And that's exactly what we're here to explore today. Throughout this episode, we'll touch on 10 of those unspoken decisions, choices and actions that, while not widely publicized, had a profound impact on America's trajectory. But before we dive into the details, let's start with the man behind the decisions. Leadership is as much about character as it is about policy. What shaped your approach to leadership during your presidency?
Great question, Sarah. My approach has always been about putting America first, doing what's best for the country, no matter how tough the decision or how much criticism I faced. I've built businesses, dealt with all kinds of challenges, and learned that success comes from persistence and vision. When I got to the White House, I knew it wasn't about being popular. It was about delivering results. And that's what I did.
It's clear that you've always been results-oriented, Mr. President. Throughout the next segment, we'll unpack some of those decisions in detail. From economic shifts to national security moves, we're diving deep into what happened behind the scenes. So stay with us, everyone. This is a conversation you won't want to miss. Mr. President, what drove your decision-making process when it came to foreign relations, particularly with nations considered adversaries?
I approached foreign relations with a business mindset, negotiating from a position of strength. Whether it was North Korea or China, I always prioritized America's interests. With Kim Jong-un, for instance, diplomacy was unconventional, but it reduced tensions. I believe strong leadership and clear communication are key to reshaping relationships and securing peace.
Can you share more about your administration's quiet efforts on energy independence?
Energy independence was a cornerstone of our strategy. Publicly, we talked about deregulation, but behind the scenes, we invested heavily in innovation. From boosting natural gas production to supporting renewable energy, we ensured America could rely on its resources while positioning ourselves as energy leaders in the global market.
How did you approach national security challenges that required discretion rather than public action?
National security often demands secrecy. We revamped cybersecurity defenses, creating advanced systems like Eagle Shield, an AI-driven program. It wasn't about bragging, it was about keeping America safe from threats in an ever-evolving digital landscape. That's leadership, doing what needs to be done, not just what looks good.
What's one unspoken decision you made that you believe will have a lasting legacy on America's future?
Requiring transparency in healthcare pricing. It didn't get much attention, but it empowered millions of Americans. Knowing costs up front let people make better choices, save them money, and improved access to care. It's a change that will benefit generations long after my presidency.
A quiet legacy, the untold stories of Trump's secret policies. Donald Trump's presidency will undoubtedly be remembered for its bold, public-facing policies and the controversies that frequently surrounded him. However, beneath the surface of the tweets, rallies, and headline-grabbing statements, there existed a quieter, more strategic side to his administration, a collection of carefully calculated decisions that shaped the course of America's future without the glare of the public spotlight. These hidden strategies, often dismissed or overlooked, reveal the complexity of his leadership style and the significant impact of his behind-the-scenes decisions. One of the most striking examples of Trump's quiet policymaking lies in his approach to reshaping America's energy landscape. While much of the public discourse focused on deregulation and the revival of coal, Trump's administration was quietly funneling resources into advanced renewable energy research. It may seem counterintuitive for an administration so closely tied to traditional energy sectors, but Trump understood that energy independence wasn't just about oil and gas. It was about securing America's position as a global energy leader. His administration invested in cutting-edge technologies, from solar advancements to breakthroughs in energy storage, ensuring that America could not only sustain itself, but also compete with countries like China in the race for renewable energy dominance. This forward-thinking approach extended to Trump's handling of healthcare reform, where he quietly implemented one of the most impactful yet underappreciated changes: the push for transparency in healthcare pricing. This policy required hospitals and insurers to disclose the true costs of medical procedures, a move designed to empower consumers with the information they needed to make informed decisions. While it didn't dominate headlines, this reform fundamentally altered the healthcare landscape, shifting power from corporations to the American people. The change may have been quiet, but its effects were monumental, offering millions the opportunity to save money and make better choices for their health. Trump's national security strategy also revealed his penchant for subtle yet transformative policies. Much of the public attention focused on his high-profile negotiations with North Korea and his bold decisions regarding NATO, but few knew about the technological revolution his administration quietly spearheaded. Recognizing the growing threats in cyberspace, Trump authorized the development of an advanced cybersecurity system known as Eagle Shield. This AI-driven platform fortified America's defenses against cyberattacks, protecting critical infrastructure and government systems from increasingly sophisticated foreign threats. The system's effectiveness was proven time and again, thwarting countless attempts to compromise national security. Yet, Trump never sought public accolades for this initiative. It was simply part of his commitment to keeping America safe. Another lesser-known but equally significant policy decision was Trump's focus on economic empowerment in historically neglected communities. While much of the administration's economic narrative revolved around tax cuts and deregulation, Trump's Opportunity Zones program quietly drove billions of dollars in private investment into economically distressed areas. This initiative provided incentives for investors to revitalize communities, create jobs, and stimulate growth in regions that had long been left behind. From rural towns to urban centers, Opportunity Zones gave struggling Americans a chance to rebuild their lives and achieve economic independence. It was a policy that transcended partisan politics, offering tangible benefits to millions. Trump's approach to foreign relations also had its share of hidden nuances. While his fiery rhetoric often dominated headlines, his administration was quietly engaged in delicate diplomatic maneuvers that reshaped America's relationships with key global players. One particularly notable example was his handling of India. Recognizing India's strategic importance as a counterbalance to China, Trump forged a strong partnership with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, focusing on trade, defense, and technology collaboration. This relationship not only strengthened America's position in the Indo-Pacific region but also laid the groundwork for future cooperation between the world's two largest democracies. Even in the realm of education, Trump's quiet policies left a lasting impact. While his administration was often criticized for its approach to public education, it quietly championed workforce development and vocational training programs. Trump recognized that the future of America's economy depended on equipping workers with the skills needed for a rapidly changing job market. By expanding apprenticeships and funding technical education initiatives, his administration empowered countless Americans to secure stable, well-paying jobs in industries ranging from manufacturing to technology. These efforts, though understated, addressed a critical gap in the nation's education system and provided a pathway to economic mobility for millions. Perhaps the most surprising aspect of Trump's quiet policymaking was his willingness to tackle issues that didn't align with his public persona. While he was often portrayed as a polarizing figure, his administration made strides in criminal justice reform, a cause traditionally championed by his political opponents. The First Step Act, a bipartisan effort to reduce recidivism and reform sentencing laws, was a testament to Trump's ability to transcend ideological divides when it mattered most. This landmark legislation reunited families, gave individuals a second chance, and demonstrated the power of quiet, collaborative governance. Trump's presidency also saw significant strides in environmental conservation, albeit in ways that were often overshadowed by his more publicized rollbacks of environmental regulations. Behind the scenes, his administration invested in the restoration of national parks and the preservation of natural habitats, ensuring that future generations could enjoy America's natural beauty. These efforts reflected a nuanced understanding of conservation that balanced economic growth with environmental stewardship. As Trump's presidency came to an end, the legacy of his quiet policies began to take shape. While his public persona remained a topic of intense debate, the impact of his behind-the-scenes decisions became increasingly evident. From transforming the energy sector to empowering consumers in healthcare, from strengthening national security to revitalizing neglected communities, Trump's hidden strategies revealed a leader who was as pragmatic as he was bold. The true measure of a presidency isn't just in the policies that make headlines, it's in the changes that endure long after the spotlight fades. Trump's quiet power moves, though often overshadowed by his more public-facing actions, demonstrated a commitment to securing America's future in ways that were as strategic as they were transformative. These untold stories remind us that leadership isn't always about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about making the decisions that matter most, even when no one is watching. Thank you, President Trump, for your candid insights and for sharing the untold stories behind your presidency. To our listeners, episodes like this are why the English Politics Podcast exists, to give you direct access to the people shaping history. We hope you enjoyed today's conversation and gained a deeper understanding of the decisions that shaped America's direction. If you value this content and want to hear more thought-provoking discussions, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue bringing exclusive interviews and honest conversations to light. Join us tomorrow for another deep dive into the world of politics and leadership. Until then, stay informed, stay engaged, and thank you for listening.